What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Miami Hurricanes are up next. Miami coming off his 7-6 season last year in 2023. So kind of an up and down year, but at the same time a very disappointing season here for this Miami football team. But my thoughts on this team though for 2024, I think they're going to be pretty good. You look at the offensive side of the football, got plenty of guys coming back there on the offensive side of the football. They also got the transfer quarterback coming over from Washington State and Cam Ward. I think he's going to be pretty good for them. Potentially could be one of the top quarterbacks in the country this year. And then you also got, some other transfers coming in to help them out. And that's what Miami did a lot this year, is recruited in the transfer portal. And I think that's the reason why Miami is definitely a top contender in the ACC and also maybe even a playoff contender. Don't really want to go that far for this Miami team, but this definitely could be like a top 25 team this year. So let's get to the schedule now here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Miami. Again, they were 7-6 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Miami Hurricanes for 2024. First game of the season, of course, is on the road here at Florida on August 31st. Big time non-conference game to kick off the season here for both of these teams. This is a very tough test here for Miami to start out the year, potentially, a top 25 team, maybe preseason going into this matchup. I think Miami clearly is the more talented team here going into this game, but it's on the road here at a very tough place to play at the Swamp. I think Florida's going to be pretty good this year. I know their schedule is very tough and all, but this is a very talented roster in Florida. I think they're pretty even with Miami, to be honest. I think it really could go either way here in this matchup. I think it could be a low-scoring type game. I don't think the offenses are going to really get things going here just because it's the season opener and everything. But you never know. It could be a high-scoring game as well. But, Florida, again, playing at home, that does favor them just a little bit here in this one. I kind of been back and forth on this game ever since the start of the offseason, ever since this game was scheduled at the beginning of the year. And, with that being said, it's a tough game to call it. Usually I go with the more talented team here. My gut was telling me to go with Miami just because they're the more talented team and everything. But I'm going to go with Florida here just because they're playing at home. I mean, that's the only reason why I can make a pick here. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Florida here to knock off Miami in a close, low-scoring type game to kick off the season. So I got Miami starting out 0-1, but then they take care of business in all their other three non-conference games. They do take care of business against Florida A&M, Ball State, and South Florida. Even though South Florida is, on the road and everything, I think they take care of business in that game as well. So I got Miami starting out 3-1 here after that Florida loss, and then after that they'll open up conference play against Virginia Tech on September 27th. This game, of course, will be on a Friday. I think Virginia Tech's going to be really good this year. They're going to be like a dark horse contender in the ACC. I know that sounds crazy, but look at this Virginia Tech roster. A lot of experience coming back, especially on both sides of the football. They have the most returning production coming back in the country. But Miami is playing at home in this one. I think they are definitely still the better team in this one. They're definitely the more talented roster. I think it's going to be a close game, though, for a little while. But I think Miami probably pulls away maybe in the second half. But you never know. Virginia Tech probably could pull off an upset here in this one on the Friday night game. But I'm going to go with Miami here just because they're playing at home. So I'm going to go with Miami there to beat Virginia Tech. They pull away in the second half, and so that puts their record now at 4-1. Next game is on the road here at California on October the 5th. This is a very tough, road game here for Miami. I think it could be a very interesting trap game here for the Hurricanes. Obviously, California, one of the newcomers coming up in the ACC this year. I don't know how good California is going to be. Don't really know how good they're actually going to be in the ACC and everything. I think the future is definitely looking bright here for the Golden Bears, but Miami definitely is still the more talented team here. This game is going to be really late, in my opinion. I think it's probably going to be a 10:30 kickoff, maybe 7:30 down there in like the Pacific time and everything, but I think this game is going to be pretty tough here for Miami. It's a close game probably in the first half, but maybe second half it's just like the Virginia Tech game. They probably pull away in the second half in a low-scoring type game. So with that being said, I think Miami goes on the road and defeats California here on October the 5th. So that puts Miami's record now here at 5-1. And then they get their first bye week of the season before playing Louisville here on the road on October 19th. The first kind of revenge game here for the Hurricanes. Obviously got beat by Louisville last year by 7 points at their home place. Could Miami return the favor and beat Louisville on the road this time at their home place? Well, I've already done my Louisville prediction video a couple weeks ago, and I did choose, of course, Louisville to win this game. I think both of these teams are pretty even. They both added, some pieces in the transfer portal on both sides of the football, and that makes it for an even matchup. So with that being said, close game, 50-50 type ball game. I'm going to go with the home field advantage here. I'm going to say that Louisville beats Miami here for the second year in a row, and I got Louisville giving Miami their second loss here of the season. So that puts Miami's record now here at 5-2. Next game is at home against Florida State on October 26th. Another revenge game here for Miami, so back-to-back revenge type games here for the Hurricanes. They will play Florida State here at home this year in this interesting rivalry game, of course, every single year. It's always a pretty good matchup here between Florida State and Miami in this Florida rivalry. Last year, of course, Miami lost by 7 points on the road at Tallahassee. This time they get the Seminoles here at home. I think Florida State's still going to be really good, though. They're not going to be the same team as they were from last year, but I've already done my Florida State video like 3 weeks ago, and I did choose, of course, Miami to win this game. I think Miami's going to be really fired up for this game. I think they'll definitely, come out here with like a revenge, things on their minds here. And I just think that Miami's offense will have a really good day in this one, and they also got the home crowd behind them. So with that being said, I think Miami does get revenge here on Florida State from last year's game, and I think Miami does improve to 6-2 there with a win over Florida State. So that puts their record, like I said, at 6-2. And then in the month of November, they play Duke at home here on November 2nd to open things up here in the month of November. I don't think the Blue Devils are going to be the same team as they were from the last couple years. They definitely could probably be a little bit still good with Mike Elko not even there anymore, but Miami is playing at home in this one. I do expect an easy win here for Miami. I think they'll take care of business. It's not going to be a blowout, but I think it will be a 10 to 14 point win for Miami perhaps. I think that's probably somewhere in that range. So I think the Hurricanes do get the win there over the Blue Devils, and that puts their record now here at 7-2. Next game is on the road here at Georgia Tech on November 9th. This is a very interesting game right here. This is also a really big revenge game here for the Hurricanes. These are like 3 revenge games now on this schedule here for the Hurricanes. You look at this Georgia Tech team, it seems like it's a program that's heading in the right direction. Of course, Georgia Tech pulled off a huge win last year on the road at Miami, of course, at their home place. This year, Miami plays them on the road. I think it's going to be another interesting game here between both of these teams. Of course, last year's game, came down to really the fourth quarter. Miami had this game won last year, but, of course, a very big mistake at the end of the game by running the football with a few seconds to go instead of not kneeling it leads to a game-winning touchdown for Georgia Tech. I think the game's going to be not similar to last year. I think Miami will come out really fired up for this one. Georgia Tech does have a lot of concerns on the defensive side of the football. I think their offense is going to be really good, so maybe this is probably going to be a shootout here between these two teams, but at the end of the day, I like Miami in this one. I think they get revenge on Georgia Tech from last year. They come out really fired up and motivated for this one, and they definitely run out the clock this time. They do run out the clock, and they do go on the road here and defeat Georgia Tech. I know that's a game that Miami could potentially lose and everything, but again, I think Miami is going to really come out fired up for this one, so I think they get revenge on Georgia Tech from last year's game, so that puts their record now here at 8-2. And then they get their second bye week here this season before playing Wake Forest at home on November 23rd. I don't really think Wake Forest is going to be really that good this year. This game probably kind of similar to the Duke game. It's not a blowout, but I think Miami probably wins by 10 to 14 points, somewhere in that range. So I think Miami does beat Wake Forest here fairly easily, and that puts their record here at 9-2 here on the season. And then the final game of the year is on the road here at Syracuse on November 30th. Another one of those tough road games here for the Hurricanes. I mean, obviously they got some tougher road games on the schedule besides Syracuse. Like, for example, they got Florida, they got California, and Louisville on the road. But this is another very tough road game here for Miami. Syracuse, I think, is going to be really good this year. A lot of production coming back here for the Orange this season. They also added a lot of pieces in the transfer portal. So I think both of these teams are also pretty even, and especially playing here on the road in the month of November in the last game of the regular season. Let's say that Miami is battling for a spot in the ACC championship. This is definitely one of those games that maybe Miami's ACC championship hopes could get ruined, and that's what's going to happen here. I'm going to pick the upset here. I think Syracuse, with all the experience that they have coming back, again, this is one of those upset alert type games here at the end of the year, and again, in the month of November, we do see a lot of upsets happen. So with that being said, I think Syracuse playing at home in a really close game. I think Syracuse pulls off an upset here, and they give Miami their third loss of the season. So I got Miami losing their last game here of the regular season, and also Syracuse does snap Miami's ACC championship hopes, and they also snap their 4-game winning streak as well. So I'm going to go with Syracuse in that game, and I got Miami finishing with a record of 9-3. So that is my prediction here for the Miami Hurricanes. I know Miami fans won't agree with that Syracuse loss, but I could definitely see Miami going 10-2. It would really shock me if this team did go 11-1. The schedule is not that horrible. They don't have to play Clemson or North Carolina or NC State, but they got to play Louisville and Florida State. I mean, obviously those are big key games there in the ACC. If they can win those 2 games and go undefeated in the conference, this team is definitely right in there for the ACC championship. And that Florida game also matters. I mean, if they win that game on the road at the Swamp, that definitely would be a really good win to kick off the season here for this Miami team. Again, I think this is going to be a very talented team, but again, will the inconsistency show up this year for Miami like it has been in the last couple years? I don't really think so. I think this Miami team is definitely more talented compared to the last couple years. So again, my prediction here for Miami is 9-3 here for 2024. So what do you guys think about this Miami team down in the comments below? What do you think their record will be for 2024? Again, give me your prediction on this team down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.